The arrow that changed everything. The twin suns were setting on the desert planet of Virex. Dust danced in the golden light as silence spread across the rocky land. A shadow moved quickly across the canyon, strong, graceful, deadly. She was called Kalyra, a warrior from the alien race known as the Zarians. Her silver armor glowed under the suns. Her eyes were sharp, focused. She had only one mission: to hunt and kill the fugitive hiding here. This was her final test before becoming a high sentinel of her people. She carried something special: a long black bow and one glowing arrow. The arrow was sacred, made of a rare crystal that never missed. It was known as the Arrow of Fate. In Zarian tradition, it was used only for important targets. Kalyra spotted movement near the rocks. She didn't hesitate. She pulled the string of her bow slowly, her breath steady. She aimed and released the arrow. The arrow flew through the air like lightning, fast, quiet, beautiful. But before it could hit its target, something impossible happened. A hand came up from behind the rocks, and it caught the arrow in mid-air. Kalyra's heart stopped for a second. That had never happened in Zarian history. No one, not even the greatest warriors, could do that. But this was a human. His name was Jace Carter, an explorer from Earth. He had crash-landed on Virex 2 weeks ago. He was not a soldier, not a fighter, just smart, curious, and a little lucky. He looked at the arrow in his hand with surprise. "Whoa, cool," he whispered. Kalyra jumped down from the cliff. She landed just a few feet away from Jace. Her face was filled with rage and confusion. "You fool," she hissed. "Do you even know what you've done?" Jace stood slowly. He held the arrow out. "Hey, sorry, you dropped this." Behind them, a loud sound echoed in the air. A small Zarian scout ship arrived. 2 alien guards stepped out, both in dark armor. One of them pointed at Jace and spoke in a serious voice. "By Zarian law, the one who catches the arrow of fate is now soulbound to the one who fired it." Kalyra's eyes widened in horror. "No, that can't be." Jace blinked. "Wait, what does that mean?" The guard looked at him. "It means you are now joined by destiny. You belong to her, and she belongs to you." Jace laughed awkwardly. "Okay, that's weird. Can we undo it?" "No," said the guard. "It is ancient law," Kalyra shouted. "He is a human. This law cannot apply to him." But the answer was clear in everyone's silence. Kalyra wanted to scream. She was a warrior, proud and cold. Humans were seen as weak, emotional creatures by her people. And now, she was tied to one by sacred law. Jace didn't fully understand what was happening. "So, are we married now or something?" Kalyra grabbed him by the collar. "I should kill you right now." "Not a great honeymoon," he muttered. But something inside her stopped her hand. Her heart, trained to ignore feeling, beat strangely. Was it the soul bond? Was it guilt? Or something else? Guards surrounded them. One of them spoke to Kalyra. "The council will decide your fate. You must bring the human to the capital." Jace looked around. "Great. Alien court. That's new." Kalyra turned her face away. She didn't want to look at him. Her mission was ruined, her honor destroyed. And now this human stood beside her, tied to her by fate. As the ship flew into the sky, the desert below grew darker. But above them, stars began to appear, one by one. Kalyra stared out of the window, her mind racing. She had trained all her life to fight enemies, not to be bound to them. But ancient law was sacred. Even the High Council could not ignore it. And, worst of all, she could feel something. A strange warmth inside her chest. A connection. The soul bond had begun, and it would change everything. The bond they can't escape? The Zarian capital, Verdak Prime, was a floating city of black steel and glowing energy. It hung above a boiling lake of acid like a crown over fire. The people here were proud, cold, and ruled by unbreakable tradition. In this city, honor mattered more than life. Jace Carter had never felt more out of place. He stood in the middle of a courtroom shaped like a circle, with glowing rings of energy keeping him from moving. Around him were silent observers, Zarian nobles, judges, warriors. Their eyes were sharp, their faces carved in stone. Kalira stood next to him, arms crossed, face emotionless. But inside, she was burning. She hated being here, hated standing next to him. Yet, worse than hate, was confusion. The soul bond had started to change her. She could feel his emotions like whispers in her mind. She had tried to block them, failed. When he was nervous, her hands shook. When he remembered something sad from Earth, like the day his sister died, tears had filled her eyes without her permission. The High Judge, an old Zarian named Thun, stepped forward. "You have broken the sacred order, warrior Kalira," he said, voice like cracked stone. "The arrow of fate was never meant to be caught. It was meant to kill." Kalira didn't speak. And yet, Thun continued, "This human, this outsider, has done the impossible." Whispers rose around the court. Some voices were angry, some curious. Jace raised his hand. "Can I say something?" "No," Kalira snapped. "Yes," the judge said at the same time. Jace stepped forward. "Look, I didn't mean to catch the arrow. I thought someone was trying to kill me, so I just reacted. Where I come from, if something's flying at your head, you stop it." Gasps echoed through the hall. Zarians had trained their entire lives to respect the arrow. No one had ever thought to catch it. "This bond," the judge said, "cannot be broken." Kalira's body tensed. "There must be a way." "There is one," the judge replied, "but it is death." The room went silent. "If either of you tries to break the bond forcefully," he explained, "both will die. That is the price of touching fate." That night, Jace was taken to a high tower under guard. His room was clean, cold, and empty. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the arrow again, flying at him, glowing, beautiful, deadly. He remembered catching it, not thinking it would change everything. Down the hall, Kalira sat alone in her chamber. She was supposed to rest before facing the council again. But something pulled at her chest, a strange, low ache. Suddenly, she heard a voice in her mind. "I can't sleep." It was Jace. She stood up fast. "What are you doing in my head?" "I don't know. I just thought about you. And now I can hear you." The soul bond was growing. The next morning, Kalira was ordered to take Jace to the Temple of Tether, an ancient site deep underground where bonds were once created by Zarian ancestors. They traveled in silence, escorted by guards. Jace tried to make conversation. "So, what's this temple like? Some kind of alien church?" Kalira didn't answer. As they entered the temple, the air grew thick with glowing mist. Old statues of warriors holding arrows lined the walls. In the center, a large crystal pulsed slowly like a living heart. A priest stepped forward. His skin was pale blue, eyes closed. "This place will test the bond," he said. "If it is weak, it will break. If it is strong, it will grow." Jace looked at Kalira. "You ready for this?" "No," she said, "but I'll survive." They both stepped into the crystal light, and instantly, the world vanished. Jace opened his eyes. He wasn't in the temple anymore. He was in a dark field, under a blood-red sky. Lightning cracked above. He saw Kalira, young, maybe 12, crying beside a burning ship. Warriors were dragging her away. A woman lay dead near the flames. Her mother. Jace reached out. "Kalira!" She turned and screamed. The vision broke. Kalira opened her eyes. Next, she was on Earth, green fields, soft rain. She saw a little boy crying as people in uniforms folded a flag. A grave nearby read, "Emily Carter, beloved sister." She felt the pain in her chest. Deep, honest human pain. It shook her. Then they were both pulled back into the temple, gasping. The priest nodded. The bond is real, deep, rare. Kalira looked away. She didn't want to feel this, it was too much. On their way back to the capital, something unexpected happened. A massive explosion shook the sky. Smoke rose from the distance. The royal palace was under attack. The guards turned the vehicle. "Stay here," they shouted and rushed toward the chaos. But Kalira and Jace had already jumped out. As they approached the fire, Jace saw a small child trapped under falling stone. He didn't think, he just ran. Kalira screamed, "No!" He lifted the stone with all his strength and pulled the child out. Then a second blast hit nearby. The shockwave sent them both flying. Jace's ears rang. His head spun. But he saw Kalira dragging him away from the flames. "You stupid human," she whispered. "You could have died." "You felt it, didn't you?" he asked. "You felt I was in danger." She didn't answer, but her hands were shaking. Later that night, as the capital burned and the council tried to regain control, a secret message was delivered to Kalira's chamber. She opened it. A single line was written in ancient Zarian script. "The prophecy has begun. He is not your curse. He is your key." Her hands went cold. There was more to this bond, more than law, more than fate, something much older and far more dangerous. Enemies within. Even the strongest bonds can hide secrets, and sometimes your greatest enemy wears your face. The skies over Verdak Prime were still black from the fire. The city's heart had been shaken. The council survived, but something had changed. People whispered of rebellion. Fear was spreading. In the middle of it all stood two figures no one could ignore anymore. Kalira, the warrior soul-bound to a human, and Jace Carter, the human who had touched the untouchable. They were symbols now, symbols of change or destruction. Inside, a high-security tower, Kalira and Jace were being kept for their own protection. Kalira sat by the window staring down at the city. Her thoughts were heavy. She could still feel Jace's fear from the explosion. She had pulled him from the fire with her own hands. Not because of duty, not because of the bond, because she wanted to, and that scared her more than any enemy ever had. Jace paced the room, behind her. "They think we caused the bombing, don't they?" Kalira didn't answer. He stopped. "I saved a child down there, and they still look at me like I'm the bomb." Kalira turned to him. "They fear you, not because you're dangerous, but because you changed something sacred. You made the arrow miss." Jace sat down. "I didn't want any of this." Kalira looked at him. "Neither did I." Later that night, someone hacked into the security field around their room. A small drone flew in through the window, buzzing softly. Kalira grabbed it midair. It projected a message in red light. "Meet us. 1 hour. Level 13. Alone. No guards." "We know what the council is hiding." She crushed the drone in her hand. "This is a trap." Jace stood. "Or the truth." 1 hour later, Kalira and Jace moved through the shadowed corridors of Level 13, the forgotten level of the city where light didn't reach and secrets were buried. They were met by a group of hooded figures. One stepped forward, her voice was calm, sharp. "We are the Fracture, rebels, scientists, former soldiers. We don't believe in the old laws anymore." Kalira raised a hand. "Say one wrong word and I break your spine." The woman nodded. "Then hear the right one." She turned on a holoscreen. A recording played. It showed a lab. Zarian scientists standing around a table. On the table, a human child, in chains, crying. The scientist spoke. "The bond experiment failed. We must try again. Use the next subject. Inject the memory serum." Kalira's blood froze. Jace stepped forward. "Is that Earth tech?" The woman nodded. "Your people were not lost explorers. They were test subjects, taken from Earth, over decades, used in Zarian bond experiments. You're not the first." Jace's voice shook. Where are the others? The woman looked at Kalara. That's where your story gets darker. They followed the rebels to a secret lab far under the city. The door was locked with 5 levels of clearance. Kalara used her name, her DNA, her warrior code. The door opened. What they saw inside made them both stop breathing. Tubes, dozens of them. Inside each tube, a human, sleeping, frozen in time. Jace stared. No, this can't be real. A console nearby listed their names. He saw one that made him fall. To his knees, Emily Carter. Status, preserved. Memory wipe incomplete. His sister. Kalara touched his shoulder, unable to speak. She looked up and saw a symbol on the wall, her clan's sigil, and below it, her father's name. He was the one running the lab. Back at the council, her father stood before the High Lords. Kalira's bond must be destroyed, he said coldly. She is corrupted. One elder asked, What of the human? He is a key, her father said, to unlocking the final stage, but he must not live to see it. That night, Kalira sat on the rooftop of their tower, the wind cutting across her armor. Jace came up quietly. You knew he was strict, but not this. She nodded. He always believed in order, control, power through obedience. I thought he was wrong. Now I know he is evil. Jace looked at her. Then let's fight him. Kalira hesitated. He's not just my father, he's the war general. The council trusts him. Jace stood beside her. Then we'll show them the truth. Before she could answer, she felt it. Pain. Sharp, stabbing pain in her chest. Jace fell to his knees, gasping. Kalira clutched her heart. Someone was attacking the bond. A hidden lab. A needle in a machine. A Zarian scientist whispering into a communicator. Begin the separation process. Break the link between them. Back in the tower, Kalira screamed, No! If they sever the bond now, he'll die. She ran to him, holding him as his breath grew shallow. Stay with me, she whispered. Don't leave. Don't leave. Jace looked up at her, barely able to speak. I see you. In my head. I saw you when you were little. Crying. Alone. I'm not leaving you again. Kalira's eyes filled with tears. Then her body lit with blue fire. The bond pulsed, and the connection forced the machine to explode from miles away. Far below, in the secret lab, the rebel leader watched the explosion. She activated the core, she whispered. She chose the bond. Back in the city, Kalira held Jace close. The pain faded. His breath slowed, then returned. They sat in silence. 2 souls. Once strangers. Now, inseparable. And somewhere in the shadows, her father watched and smiled. Let the game begin. Past and prophecy. What if your greatest enemy was never outside, but buried deep within you? The city of Verdak Prime had started to rot from the inside. Whispers moved through its dark halls like poison, about a prophecy, a human, and a warrior who betrayed her kind. The council tried to control the story, but the people were already choosing sides. And deep inside the floating city, in a hidden vault beneath the Temple of Law, a secret was awakening. Jace was dreaming again. But this time, it wasn't his own memory. He saw a girl, barefoot, covered in ash, running through a jungle of fire. Ships were falling from the sky. Screams echoed in the air. She hid behind a stone. A tall man stood over her, sword dripping red. You are weak, he said. You feel too much, that's why they all died. Then she looked up, her eyes full of rage and sorrow. Kalira. Jace woke up with a jolt. He was in a medical chamber, recovering from the failed bond separation attack. Kalira was by his side, asleep in a chair, armor scuffed, face pale. He whispered, You were there, I saw it. She opened her eyes slowly. Saw what? Your childhood. The fire. The war. Your father. Her face went cold. That memory is sealed. You weren't supposed to see it. The bond is deeper now, Jace said. I didn't just feel it. I lived it. Kailira stood, turning away. Then you saw the truth. I was trained to kill emotion, to erase fear. My father made sure of that. You never erased it, Jace said. You just buried it. She didn't reply, but deep down she knew he was right. That same day, a messenger arrived from the Hall of Lorekeepers, a sacred order that guarded Zarian history and prophecies. They requested Kailira and Jace to appear. The hall was carved from stone older than Zarian memory. Every wall was covered in glowing runes. An elder stood in the center, her skin wrinkled like cracked glass, her eyes blind but sharp. I have waited years to meet the Arrowbinder, she said softly. Kailira narrowed her eyes. That name hasn't been spoken in centuries. The elder nodded. Because the last one started a war. She motioned for Jace to step forward. Place your hand on the flame of echoes. A small flame hovered in the air, motionless. Jace placed his hand over it. The room went silent. Then the flame exploded into a projection. Stars, planets, blood, and fire. A vision filled the room. A Zarian woman stands beside a human man. Behind them, fleets of ships burn across the galaxy. The woman holds a bow. The man holds nothing. But his eyes glow with something powerful. The voice of the elder whispered. In the days before memory, the stars foretold of a soul who would catch the arrow in flight. Not by skill, but by fate. This soul would bind the warrior and awaken the truth buried beneath blood. He is not the destroyer. He is the mirror. He does not bring death. He reveals what must die. The flame vanished. Kailira stepped back. This prophecy, I thought it was myth. The elder shook her head. It was hidden. By your father. By the council. Because the truth threatens the world they built. Jace looked at her. What truth? The elder leaned in. That your bond is not an accident, it's a trigger. Kailira clenched her fists. Trigger for what? Revelation, said the elder. When your hearts align, the lies of the Zarians will fall. Suddenly, an explosion shook the hall. Smoke poured. Kailira grabbed Jace's arm. They found us. Guards stormed the room, but they weren't council soldiers. They were dark sentinels, loyal to her father. Kailira fought like a storm. She spun, kicked, and sliced through the attackers. Jace helped pull the elder to safety. A blade nearly struck his chest, but this time he moved faster than he should have, much faster. He caught the sword. With one hand, Kailira saw it. Her eyes widened. Jace, how did you do that? I don't know. They escaped through a side tunnel. Behind them, the hall burned. The elder's final words echoed in Kailira's mind. He reveals what must die. Later that night, hidden in an old war bunker, Kailira scanned Jace's DNA using rebel tech. What she found made her freeze. Jace wasn't just human. He had traces of Zarian ancestry. Old. Muted. But there. How is this possible? She whispered. Jace looked at her. What are you saying? You're not just bonded to me. You were designed to be. Suddenly, a transmission interrupted them. Her father's face appeared on the screen. Cold. Calm. Certain. You have gone far enough, daughter, Kailira growled. You lied to me. You used children. You used him. You don't understand yet, her father said. The bond is not a threat. It's a key, and I will open the gate with or without your help. What gate? His smile was thin. The vault of origin, where the truth about our kind is locked. I needed a human to access it. One like him. One half like us. Jace stepped forward. You mean to say I was made for this? No, the general said. You were born for it. The mistake was letting you remember who you are. The screen went dark. Kailira turned to Jace. He's going to the vault. If he opens it first, then what? Kalira looked up, at the stars. Then no one will survive what comes out. The escape to nowhere. Sometimes running away isn't fear. It's the only way to survive long enough to fight. The stars looked different outside the city, colder, hungrier. Jace Carter stood at the edge of a jagged cliff on Razor 9, an abandoned mining moon on the outer rim of Zarian space. The land was black rock and glass broken by deep cracks that hissed steam from the core below. The sky flickered with lightning from a storm that never ended. Behind him, a hidden ship buzzed quietly, cloaked by an old rebel field. Kalira stood inside, fixing the nav system, her hands fast but her mind far away. They had escaped the capital, but they were not safe. 3 days earlier, they had stolen a prototype star cruiser during a blackout in Verdak Prime. Kalira had fought off 2 sentinels at once. Jace had hotwired the controls. The ship had jumped to deep space, just moments before the Council could seal the gates. But something had followed them, something strange. Jace had started to dream again. Not memories, not visions, voices. Ancient, speaking in a language he didn't know, yet somehow understood. He hadn't told Kalira, not yet. Inside the ship, Kalira activated a holomap. A glowing trail stretched from their current location to the distant vault of origin, buried under a dead star system, locked behind an uncracked Zarian code. They were running out of time. Her father's forces were on the move. The vault could not be opened without Jace, but that didn't mean the general needed him alive. His blood, his DNA, his presence, all could be used, one way or another. Kalira stared at Jace's digital profile on the map, half human, half Zarian, born of Earth, key to the vault, but bonded to her. She closed the map and walked out, into the storm. Jace didn't hear her coming. He was staring into the storm, lost in thought. "Why this moon?" he asked without turning. "There's nothing here," Kalira replied. "Exactly. It's nowhere. And sometimes that's the safest place to be." They stood side by side in silence. Finally, he turned. "You've been different since we left." She met his gaze. "So have you." Jace hesitated. "The bond. It's not just emotional anymore. I feel things. Memories that aren't mine. Thoughts that don't belong to me. Sometimes I see your mother's face before I sleep." Kalira's voice was soft. "And I see your sister." Then he added, "I hear voices, speaking in Zarian, but they're not alive. They're echoes, from before time." Her eyes narrowed. "You're awakening." "Awakening what?" Kalira didn't answer. Instead, she opened a compartment in her armor and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed red, faint, flickering. "This is a memory core. It was passed to me by the lore keepers. It contains a message from someone who lived before the fall of the First Empire." She handed it to him. Jace activated it. A hologram appeared. A Zarian elder, eyes like glass, voice like thunder. "To the one who walks between bloodlines, you are not the first, but you may be the last. If you are hearing this, the vault is near, and the choice will be yours. Open the gate and lose everything, or keep it sealed and lose yourself." The crystal dimmed. Kalira said nothing. Neither did Jace. Suddenly, alarms screamed inside the ship. Jace ran in. Kalira checked the scanner. 3 ships. Zarian design. No transponder. No communications. "They found us," Kalira whispered. She powered up weapons. "We can't outrun them." Jace stared at the screen. One of the ships looked familiar. His eyes widened. "That symbol, the dragon. That's not your father's fleet." Kalira looked again. Her face went pale. "No, that's worse." The ship landed hard in the dust. Out of the storm walked Commander Rickson, Kalira's former training rival, and now leader of the Black Talons, a rogue squad exiled for war crimes. He smiled coldly. "Kalira, always running, but now you're cornered." She stepped forward. "I'm not here to fight." Good, he replied. Because I'm here to talk. He looked at Jace. You're the human, the one with the bond. Jace didn't answer. Rixon grinned. You have no idea what's inside you, do you? Kalira raised her blade. Say what you came to say. Rixon stepped closer. The vault won't just open a door. It will unlock memory buried in Zarian blood. Secrets our leaders hid for generations. Truth so big they could shatter the Empire. He pointed at Jace. He is the living password. But the vault has a guardian, one who will only rise if the bond is complete. Kalira blinked. Complete? Yes, Rixon said. You haven't sealed it yet, you've resisted it, that's why you're both still unready. Jace frowned. What do you mean, seal it? Kalira stepped back, her voice was shaken. It means giving up control. Fully. Mind, heart, and soul. Once sealed, we will never be separate again. Not in life. Not in death. Rixon's eyes glittered. The vault will demand sacrifice. If you enter unsealed, it will take one of you. He turned, walking away into the storm. You have 3 days. After that, the vault will awaken on its own. With or without you. That night, Jace sat outside the ship, watching the lightning. Kalira joined him. He spoke first. What are we becoming? She answered quietly. Something new. Something dangerous. He looked at her. Are we ready to seal the bond? Kalira didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, yes. Because if we don't, one of us will ceremonial life for another. When destiny demands a price, love alone is not enough. Only sacrifice can break the cycle. The second sun was setting behind the scorched cliffs of Razor 9. The storm clouds had finally cleared, but the silence left behind was heavier than the thunder. Inside the stolen ship, Kalira stood in front of the soul chamber, a glowing pod hidden deep in the lower deck. Its light pulsed with soft energy, ancient, powerful, and waiting. This was the place the rebels had spoken of, the place where the bond could be sealed, but sealing came with a cost. Jace sat nearby, watching her. His body still carried bruises from their last encounter with Rixon. But it wasn't the wounds that hurt the most. It was the truth Rixon had revealed. If the bond remains unsealed, the vault will choose. One of you will die. That truth had settled between them like a knife. Kalira finally spoke. In my people's history, the soul bond was once pure. It was sacred, not law, not control. Two minds, joined as one, stronger together. But then, it was corrupted, turned into power, weaponized. She looked at him, her voice low. I don't want to turn you into a weapon. Jace smiled, tired but sincere. Too late for that. I caught an alien arrow, been hunted by your entire military, and now I'm the key to some cosmic door. I think I'm already a little weapony. She didn't laugh. She just watched him, and then whispered, This might hurt. The soul chamber opened. A soft hum filled the air. The room dimmed. 2 seats rose from the floor, surrounded by energy. Rings. Jace took her hand. I trust you. Kalira hesitated. I don't trust myself. But she sat down. The rings began to spin. The sealing begins. Their memories collided, not like before in glimpses. This time they merged. Jace saw Kalira's childhood, her brutal training. The moment she was forced to kill a friend for failing a test. He saw the night she stood alone in the rain, after her mother's body was burned with no words, no honor, no tears. And she saw Jace, the day his parents vanished in a research mission. The months he lived on the streets, the endless fight, to prove he was worth something. The moment he found Emily's scarf the day she went missing, and never came back. And then the pain came. Their bodies started to burn. The bond was not gentle. It was ripping through everything false, every wall, every fear. Kalira screamed as Jace's grief poured into her like a flood. Jace gasped as her rage struck him like lightning, but they didn't let go. They held on, even as the soul chamber began to crack under the pressure. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The Vault of Origin had activated. Kalira opened her eyes inside the chamber. She could feel something, a pull, far across the stars. The vault was awake, and it was calling them. But something was wrong. The ship's AI came online. Warning, energy spike detected. One life form destabilizing. Kalira looked over. Jace was glowing. His veins lit with golden light. His breath was shallow. His body shook violently. She tried to stand, but the chamber held her down. The AI spoke again. Bond seal 87% complete. Balance failing. One host will be lost unless exchange is made. Kalira's eyes widened. The bond had chosen her, and it was killing him. No, she whispered. No, take me. But the machine didn't answer. Jace's eyes fluttered. Kalira, listen. Don't speak, she said, choking on her own words. Seal it, he whispered. Seal it fully. You'll be stronger. You'll win this war. Kalira touched his face. I don't want to win a war if I lose you. Then, from deep within the ship's core, an old Zarian protocol activated. Override available. Transfer life force, confirm one life for another. Kalira didn't think. She stood, placed her hand on the crystal heart of the chamber and said 2 words. Take mine. Everything stopped. The light turned blue. Jace collapsed into her arms, alive, breathing. Kalira fell backward, eyes closed, unmoving. But she was not dead. She was changed. 10 hours later. Jace awoke in the medbay, alone. The ship was drifting toward the dead star system where the Vault of Origin slept. He stood slowly. His body no longer hurt. In fact, he felt stronger, quicker. A strange energy hummed beneath his skin. He ran to the soul chamber. Kalira was gone. In her place, a new suit of armor stood, black and silver, with a glowing mark on its chest. Jace turned and saw her, standing at the door, alive, but no longer fully Zarian. Her eyes were brighter, her voice deeper. I gave you my strength, she said, and the bond sealed. I am not just Kalira now. He stepped forward. Then who are you? She looked up at the stars, the protector of the key, the last sentinel of truth. Then the ship's alarm rang again. Approaching Vault of Origin. Energy signatures detected. Hostile fleets inbound. Kalira and Jace stood together, fully bound, fully awakened, ready for what waited behind the gate. Rise of the bound. One truth will be revealed. One world will fall, and one bond will change the stars forever. The ship burst through the black veil of the dead star system, floating into an abyss of frozen light and shattered moons. There were no stars here, only silence and one enormous structure resting in orbit of a dying sun, the Vault of Origin. It looked like a planet, but it wasn't. It was alive. Jace stood at the command deck, hands trembling, breath shallow. He had never seen anything so massive, so ancient. It was a world built by gods, or something older. Beside him stood Kalira, now in her new form. Her armor shimmered like obsidian touched by starlight. Her presence was different, calmer, colder, yet more connected. The bond between them wasn't just emotional anymore, it was something deeper, something divine. They could feel each other's heartbeat, thoughts, fears, strength. And somewhere inside both of them, something else had awakened. Suddenly, red dots appeared on the radar. 20 warships, all Zarian. Led by her father, the ship's AI flickered. Enemy fleet approaching. They have activated the vault's outer defenses. You are not authorized to enter. Kalira's voice was steel. Override that. The AI paused, then complied. The vault's surface cracked open like an eye, revealing a long black tunnel made of metal that shimmered like liquid. The ship dived in, and everything went dark. Inside the vault, there were no walls, no gravity, just a circular platform floating in an endless void. Jace and Kalira stood in the center. A voice, ancient and layered, echoed around them. You have come at last, the arrow binder, and the mirror soul. They turned. A figure stepped out from the shadows. Neither human nor Zarian, a hybrid tall, glowing, wearing robes older than time. I am the first, it said. The first who caught the arrow, the one they erased from history. Jace stepped forward. Why bring us here? The first hybrid spoke softly. To show you the lie, the truth they buried beneath blood and power. The Zarians were not always conquerors. They were guardians. The bond was not meant for control. It was meant for balance, between creation and destruction. Kalira's eyes narrowed. So why erase it? Because your leaders feared love, connection, unity. They couldn't rule people who felt too much. So they rewrote the laws and made the bond a curse. The first hybrid raised a hand. The void around them changed, became a battlefield. Thousands of years ago, Zarians and humans fighting side by side, the bond glowing between them, making them stronger. But then, betrayal. The Zarian leaders turned on the hybrids, calling them unnatural. They erased their names, destroyed the records, sealed the vault, and waited for someone to awaken it again. That someone, the first hybrid whispered, is you. Back on the enemy flagship, General Varkon, Kalira's father, watched their ship disappear inside the vault. Prepare the weapon, he said. An officer gasped. Sir, it's unstable. If we fire at the vault, it could... Do it. The weapon powered up. Inside the vault, Kalira clutched her chest. She felt it, her father's betrayal. Again, Jace turned. We don't have much time. The first hybrid pointed to a glowing pedestal in the center of the platform. This is the heart of the vault. It will unlock the full truth. Every record, every lie, every memory ever hidden by the Zarian Council. But once opened, the galaxy will change forever. Empires will fall. Jace looked at Kalira. And we have to decide together. She nodded. All or nothing. They reached the pedestal. Their hands hovered over the surface. The bond between them glowed. The vault began to open. Suddenly the chamber shook. A blast echoed through the stars. The general's fleet had fired the anti-light cannon. The vault's outer wall cracked. Kalira screamed. They're trying to collapse the entire vault. Jace grabbed her hand. We do this now, together. The moment their hands touched the pedestal, the vault exploded with light. Every hidden truth was released. Signal shot across the galaxy, to every Zarian ship, every rebel outpost, every hidden human colony. They all saw the truth, the experiments, the erased history, the lies, the stolen children, the soul bonds, the heroes who were erased, the love that was buried. Across the stars, soldiers laid down their weapons, rebels rose up, civilians demanded answers. The Empire began to crack, and inside the vault, Kalira and Jace stood in the middle of a storm of memory and power. They were no longer just bound. They were beacons. Suddenly, the general's flagship appeared outside the vault, charging for a final shot. Jace turned to Kalira. If that blast hits, everything ends. Kalira nodded. Then we stop it. Jace stepped forward. Let me do this. Kalira grabbed his arm. Not alone. They stepped onto the outer deck of their ship as it launched from the vault at full speed. The final blast fired. Jace closed his eyes. Kalira raised her hand. Their bond became a shield. The blast hit them and vanished, turned to harmless light. The general's ship lost control. It spiraled. Kalira sent one final message to her father. You lost because you tried to rule what you should have loved. The battle ended. The vault sealed itself again, but not before sending a final gift. A star. A new one. Born from the dead system. A sign of rebirth. 3 months later, Jace and Kalira stood on the edge of a cliff on a green world. Earth, finally, in contact again. They were known now across galaxies, not as weapons, not as fugitives, but as the bound, the first to awaken what was forgotten. They were no longer afraid. And as they stood hand in hand, Kalira smiled slightly. So, what? Now? Jace laughed. Now? We live, we build, and maybe we love. She looked at him. You already do. The end.